Hey guys, I'm Mason, and this is Wrestling in the Dark, the only professional wrestling podcast brought to you by a completely blind wrestling fan, and today I'm here to talk to you about AEW's Fight for the Fallen pay-per-view. This is part 2 of my AEW vs WWE two-parter because of how this weekend played out. If you want to find out what I thought of Extreme Rules, just go check that video out too. But if you want to find out what happened on Fight for the Fallen, how good it was, and what I thought of it, just stick around as I go through AEW's third pay-per-view and see how it all panned out. The buy-in kicked off with Peter Avalon, the librarian, with Lever Bates, the other librarian, in his corner, versus Sonny Kiss. Thought that this was a pretty nice way to open up the pay-per-view. Didn't think that it was anything too special, though, really. I did enjoy it, like I said, but I just didn't really feel like it clicked or connected with me that much, especially compared to some of the other matches on the card. I like the fact that the librarians got some really good heat on their way down to the ring. They got some really big boos and a really loud "you suck" chant. I know that a lot of people are complaining about this librarian thing and saying that it has go-away heat, but it's designed to have go-away heat, in my opinion. At least it seems that way. They literally called the episode Go Away Heat with Being the Elite a few weeks back, with Lever Bates coming and being like, "Oh, thank you so much for this gimmick," and saying that they want to give her the Baron Corbin push, etc, etc. So they know it has Go Away Heat, and it's designed to have Go Away Heat. They want you to want the librarians to go away the same way as you want an actual librarian to go away. I was pretty impressed with Sonny Kiss. I've never seen anything from him before, never really heard of him before other than Double or Nothing, but he seemed to be fairly innovative and intriguing. He got some nice offense in. He did a arm drag into the splits at one point. There was a nice sequence that ended in an exploder suplex. He did the twerk salt. The crowd was chanting "Reading sucks" the whole way through. Alex Marvez and Excalibur were doing a really, really good job. Alex made a little bit of a joke about the librarians hanging out in Jacksonville Library, which is open 10 till 6, which I just found fairly entertaining. I don't know why. I feel like if that had come from Corey Graves, it'd have been in this sort of like tongue-in-cheek, wink-wink, nudge-nudge sort of way, like, like, or making fun of them for being at the library. With Alex, it was just, I don't know, I quite liked it. These buy-ins I really enjoy. They don't tend to keep the commentary the same as they have it on the main show, and this time it was just Alex and Excalibur, and honestly, those two are a dream team. I really, really, really enjoy their commentary. And then at the end, Sonny Kiss hit split-legged leg drop for the win. The Kiss is it, I believe they called it. So I gave this a 3 out of 6. It wasn't anything particularly special or groundbreaking, but it was an entertaining way to open up the pay-per-view, and I enjoyed it for what it was. Next up, it was a crash course on how to do women's tag team wrestling. WWE, pay attention, because this was one of my favourite matches of the night. I thought it was one of the best matches on the card, especially when it came to the commentary, because Alex and Excalibur were such a good team. I felt like this was crystal clear throughout all the match. I never felt like I was lost, and I was into it the entire time. I was getting so invested. There was some really, really nice spots in this match. I got into Riho so much during this match because she was running wild, hitting running knees to the backs of people's heads. She did Shoko Nakajima's Northern Lights suplex to her into a bridging pin, which didn't work, so she hit a diving foot stomp instead. Nakajima did a she did a top rope drop kick at some point, but that knocked Baker back and she was able to get the tag. Baker got hit pretty hard in the head at one point, which we now know has given her a concussion, and she tagged the wrong person in, and the commentary played that up really well. Riho and Shoko were doing the Booyah spot, same as Baker and Priestley were later on in the match. there was a pretty decent pop for B when she tagged in at some point. They really played up the fact that Shoko and B Priestley were working much better together than Riho and Britt Baker were. Britt Baker hit a super kick and a butterfly suplex at some point, which I thought was a nice combo. Shoko Nakajima hit a suicide dive between the first and second ropes, taking advantage of her low centre of gravity, as the commentators put it. And I just really, really enjoyed this match. It's just, there was a lot of really, really cool stuff. And then in the end, Riho went for another running knee on Shoko Nakajima, but she got the step up Hurricanrana and got the pin for the win. And I gave this a 5 out of 6 match, and let me tell you, I didn't give all the cool spots in this, but everyone looked really, really good in this match. I thought everyone came out looking better. This did wonders for the WWE. This did wonders for the women's division, in my opinion, because I'm now just so much more invested in all of these women. Riho came across really, really cool, really intense and fast, and just like you didn't know what she was going to do. Those running knees to the backs of people's heads just was really awesome. Shoko Nakajima was just all over the place, hitting this move and that move and this move and that move. Britt Baker did really well. B Priestley made herself look vicious and powerful. Like I said, I like the fact that they really played up the Priestley and Nakajima were working much better as a team. At one point, they were really starting to play up on the win-loss record thing this time, which I actually quite liked. It sort of added a new element to the pay-per-view. I had been expecting them to do that with Double or Nothing and Fighter Fest. Sorry, I tried to correct myself and still went for the wrong one. But they hadn't got that much, they hadn't got anything behind them, so they couldn't really play up on the wins and losses thing, because everyone was at a 0-0. But now that people started picking up wins, they started playing on it a lot more. They started talking about the fact that Britt would obviously want their team to win, but if they've got to lose, she'd prefer that Riho picks up the loss, so that the L goes to Riho and puts Riho in the loss column, and I like that. I thought that it made everything look that little bit more like it mattered, a bit more weight to it. Started really putting into your mind the fact that these wins and losses are going to matter and people are going to have records, etc, because that's something that they brought up a lot during this show. But I thought this was a really, really good match, and if there was one match on the card that I was going to be like, you have to watch this and it was really good and it'll get you invested, it was this one. And I literally said to Glenn, the indie correspondent, I messaged him after this match and I was like, that's how you do women's tag team wrestling. Why is it not done like that? I just thought it was a really, really outstanding match. And like I said, I gave it a 5 out of 6. The opening match of the main show was a 6-man tag match between Shawn Spears, MJF and Sammy Guevara versus Joey Janela, Darby Allin and Jimmy Havoc. I was so close to calling him... let's just ignore it. I called him Jimmy Havoc. Anyway, I really enjoyed this match to a point, but it also had me a little bit lost because of the multi-man aspect of things. I do find that a lot harder to keep up with. I didn't think that the commentary was as spot on as they could have been, and it's a little bit of a shame, but actually, it's quite a big shame because I really like all of the people in this. MJF is probably my favourite person on the AEW roster. Shawn Spears I'm really interested in getting to know a little bit more about. Sammy Guevara I've seen some of and was impressive at Double or Nothing, but I'm not as invested in him. But Joey Janela, Darby Allin and Jimmy Havoc are all people that I find really interesting. They're all people that I've seen interviews with. They're all people that I've gone out on my way to look a little bit more information on about. And I just didn't feel like this really ever clicked. I didn't feel like it really had any proper stakes. I did enjoy the commentary putting over the character work in the beginning, talking about the fact that they'd asked Sammy how he felt about teaming with Shawn and MJF, and he said he hated them and that that he didn't want to work with them, etc., etc. MJF and Sean Spears obviously had beef to do with the Cody thing, and they were bickering a lot. Jimmy Havoc, as he was coming out, they said that he said that there was no two men on the AEW roster that he'd rather tag with than Darby and Joey, and they put over the fact that they're clearly going to be able to work better as a team. I didn't really manage to keep up with the action for the most part because there was lots of frequent tagging in and out, and I did manage to keep up with some spots, but some spots I got either lost or there was a few not as detailed calls, such as there being a big top rope corner move that ended in a near fall that they didn't call. One of the most over people in this match was Darby Allin, and at one point he went to tag in so he could face Sean Spears. The crowd chanted his name very, very loudly. He was incredibly over, and I will retract my statement from last time saying that the Cody match didn't do anything for him, because I think it did, because people were really, really behind him in this match. When he tagged in, it exploded, and Sean Spears got huge heat for tagging out. Jimmy Havoc was running wild for a little bit, but I didn't manage to keep up with it quite as well as I could have. He hit an acid rainmaker and got hit with a double knees. Darby Allin hit a Spanish fly at one point, a standing Spanish fly actually, and I do have a little bit of a problem with the finish. Sean Spears got someone back. He got Sammy Guevara back in the ring at some point, not really caring about his well-being. Sammy had been wiped out by some big move, and Sean rolled him back in the ring so he could get the tag, and eventually he put Darby Allin down for the loss, or at least to pick up the win. And I don't know. I feel like Darby really needed to not be the one taking the pin here. I feel like if it was me, I'd have probably done it as Joey Janela, because he seems like he'd be the most banged up. One of the things that I liked as they were coming out was the commentary put over why each of the face team was banged up, and I liked that, because although MJF, Sean Spears and Sammy Guevara were like in good health, they weren't getting along, whereas in the face team were getting along, but they were a bit more banged up. And I feel like with what Joey Janela went through, if he'd have just taken some sort of move and gone down for the loss, it wouldn't necessarily have made him look it wouldn't have made him look bad, and people know him a little bit more. It's time to start getting Darby Allin into that win column. Maybe it's just a little bit of personal bias, but I sort of struggled with this match, and it's a shame, because when you look at the opening match for Extreme Rules with Roman Reigns and The Undertaker versus Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre, which I really shouldn't have liked, I probably enjoyed it slightly more than this match from an action point of view. And I know that there's going to be some AEW fans that jump on me for that, because they're going to be like, well, this was clearly better, the in-ring action was like way better, but the commentary wasn't, unfortunately, and that's saying something, because I do really enjoy the AEW commentary. I like Excalibur and I like Alex Marvez, and I'm getting used to JR. I still think that he can come across as a bit surplus at times and a little bit confused, but other than that, I really enjoy it, and the fact that that opening match of Extreme Rules was a little bit more informative, a bit more on the ball when it comes to the commentary. I managed to keep up with it a little bit better, despite the fact that it was a multi-man match. You know, there's only 2 less men in that match than there was in this one, and I still managed to keep up with it quite a lot. And it's just a shame, because like I said, I find all 6 of these men really interesting, and I just hope that I can get used to this fast-paced multi-man style match that they seem to like putting on these AEW pay-per-views. Hopefully at some point we get a pay-per-view where it's mostly singles matches, so I can keep up a little bit more. But despite this being one of my most anticipated matches, I really wasn't that much for it, and I only gave it a 3 out of 6 because I didn't feel like I kept up that much. It was Brandi Rhodes versus Ali next, and man, was I worked by this one. Brandi Rhodes is a fantastic heel, and if you haven't realised that yet, I'm sure you did watching this match. So let's just take a little rundown of what happened here. So Road to Fight for the Fallen had a promo with Brandi where she talked about taking herself out of the game mentally and doing figure skating and knowing that she was never good enough and taking herself mentally out of the game, battling with her mental demons. And they put together this really nice video package of Brandi talking about how much she struggles and how her greatest opponent is herself and she needs to overcome those mental demons. And then showing Ali, and she's talking about always believing in yourself and knowing that you can do it and never doubting yourself. And it makes it look really cool. It makes it sort of look like Ali is trying to motivate Brandi. And I was like, okay, what if she ends up beating you because you motivated her here? But it was all a work, and I think this was amazing. So I'm like, they run this video package, and I've already seen the Brandi promo, but they run this video package, and I'm like, yeah, I forgot how emotional and really captivating that promo was, and I'm back in that mental place where I'm like, yeah, Brandi, you overcome those mental demons, because I can relate to that. I'm a really critical person, and I always when I do something, I always almost psych myself out. You know, I used to be in bands, and I've written songs and not put them out there because I thought that they weren't good enough. I almost didn't start this podcast because I was just doubting whether I was, had the skills to do it. I can really relate to being overly self-critical and taking yourself out of the game mentally, and I was really relating with her, and I was like, yes, come on Brandi, I want you to win this match. And then Ali comes out, and she comes down to the ring, and Brandi makes her entrance, but brings out Awesome Kong with her, brings out backup, and I'm like, what is this? What are you doing? And then as the match goes on, it's just self-evident that Brandi does not want to pick up this win legitimately. She's got Awesome Kong there to cause the distractions for her if she needs her, and I just felt like this was a beautifully told story and really well delivered by the commentary as well. There was just some really cool stuff in here. I like that there was a sliding elbow strike to the jaw of Brandi. There was also a neck breaker that Ali performed using Brandi's hair. There was a part where Ali had the waist lock and Brandi hit a back elbow, escaped, went for the ropes. Ali followed her and hit a bulldog. We got a BSE and a running Death Valley driver for a near fall. Awesome Kong just kept distracting, and I thought it was really, really well. At one point, Ali had a standing dragon sleeper locked in, but Awesome Kong distracted the ref, and then not long after that, Brandi hit that bionic spear with her repaired shoulder that has the plate in it. Really, really good match. I really enjoyed it. And like I said, if there's something that they seem to know how to do, it's get me invested in the women, because this was really good storytelling, with Alex Marvez constantly questioning, were mental demons even real? And putting those thoughts in there, and like just the anger that I felt towards Brandi for this, of working me, of making me relate to her and wanting her to win, and being sucked in and sort of backing the wrong woman, because I really should have been backing Ali, and that's who I should have wanted to win. And by the end of it, I did want her to win. By the end of it, I was like, come on Ali, come on. So when Brandi picked up that win, I was like, no, oh. And to me, Brandi is like one of the biggest heels on the roster now. I absolutely hate her character. That was a really, really smart move to make me relate, pull that bait and switch. Like I said, the commentary was really good. The match itself was really good, and I gave it a strong 4 out of 6. I definitely think that it could have been 5, given a few extra minutes and a few more a few more spots and a little bit more drama. Just those few extra minutes, I think, could have kicked it up to a 5. But it was a strong 4, and that's not a knock of it. That's a really cool way for them to tell the story between those two. So Brandi versus Ali came out at 4 out of 6. a three-way tag match between the teams of Stu Grayson and Evil Uno, the Dark Order, Angelico and Jack Evans, and the boy and his dinosaur, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. In my opinion, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy were the stars of this match. There was quite a few really cool spots with Luchasaurus, like Angelico trying to psych Jack Evans up, who then tried to shove Luchasaurus and got shoved over because Luchasaurus was just too big and massive for him. Luchasaurus hit a choke slam at one point, and Jungle Boy did a shooting star press, I assume, off his shoulders, because they said assisted. There was quite a lot to this match, to be honest, and it was really, really fast, and I struggle keeping up with these kind of matches, as I've said before. Evil Uno hit a cannonball off the top and managed to get a near fall on Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy was out of it for a bit, and then when he came back and tagged in, he picked up the pace massively. He was hitting chops, and the story of the match, more or less, was the other two teams trying to put down Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus being emotional and protective of him, and I do like that. I thought that it worked pretty well, but I did get a little bit lost in the action. Maybe it's just because of the unfamiliarity with all of these competitors, but when I line it up against the other match this weekend, that was a three-way or triple threat tag match, the New Day versus Heavy Machinery versus Brian and Rowan, I didn't feel like this had me quite as drawn in. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure that in ring this was a really, really good match, but I got a little bit lost. The tags in and out were difficult to follow. There was times where they were saying things and I was getting confused about who people were. I just don't think I've quite mastered this learning curve that AEW sort of has me on at the minute, because it's just so difficult to, concentrate with the different moves that they call that I either don't know or are called different things to what they usually are. Like, the past two times that I've watched one of these pay-per-views, I didn't know what Tiaras was, but I think I heard them say that it was a Hurricanrana, and I think I did enjoy this match, because in the end it came out as a 4 out of 6, which I think might be the same as the New Day match. But I don't feel like I was quite as invested in the teams. Evil Uno saved the match quite a lot for Stu Grayson, who they put over as being a really lethal fighter, because he'd been fighting since he was 6 years old, and he'd got multiple black belts, I think in karate, taekwondo, and I can't remember the final one, but he definitely had 3 of the black belts. I think that the star of Dark Order was Evil Uno, because he kept saving the match for Stu Grayson, which is something that they definitely pointed out on commentary. I like that Luchasaurus was putting himself in harm's way and getting really emotional about Jungle Boy, and they were calling Jungle Boy his young ward, etc, etc. I think that it makes their friendship look really, really genuine. But even though I was completely wrong in my predictions, I think once I had it explained to me, Dark Order is they're gunning for the best friends, it seemed a little bit, it seemed a certainty that they were probably going to win. And as much as I marked for Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy during this match, I sort of always thought I was going to be wrong, and I was. They tried to put Jungle Boy down with oh god, man, I'm trying to think. It was something and a senton, but it didn't quite work, so they hit Jungle Boy with the fatality and ended up picking up the win. So I gave it a 4 out of 6, and I will have more detail than this in my notes, but it's incredibly hard to think of all of the spots. One of the things that I am trying to get used to is writing down less notes, because it means that I struggle remembering what happened, and I can't talk about it quite as much. Like I said, I did think that there was some quite cool spots in this, and I really enjoyed Luchasaurus managing to run wild and show his athletic skills as well as his strength. At one point he hit a handspring and then did something else, but the commentary didn't say what it was, but the crowd was going absolutely wild for it, and I think I'm out of things to say with that one. So yeah, the triple threat tag match. No, not triple threat. Again, deprogramming myself from WWE and going somewhat delirious from talking wrestling for so long. I'm completely lost where I am. The Dark Order pick up the win and they advance to All Out to face the Best Friends for a chance at a first round bye. Super bad Kip Sabian versus Hangman Adam Page. They actually did a pretty good job with this one, giving it a little bit of story on the night, because I didn't feel like it had that much build to it before. And even though this should have been one of the best matches of the night, it's probably one of the ones that I enjoyed least. However, I did enjoy Kip Sabian's promo earlier on in the night, where he was talking about the fact that Adam Page gets handed everything because he's a member of the Elite. And he was sick of being treated like an afterthought, that Adam Page is just looking forwards to All Out, just concentrating on Jericho and treating Sabian like an afterthought, like just putting out a tweet saying Kip's a good wrestler, and he was taking issue with that and said that he hopes that Page beats Jericho at All Out, because after Sabian beats him at Fight for the Fallen, he'll be the first one in line for Page's championship if he beats Jericho. Thought it was really, really well delivered. He tried to get the announcer or the backstage interviewer, whatever, to do the super bad thing, and she wouldn't, and they had a bit of a laugh about it, and that was cool. But he got really serious, and he really took it to Adam Page with the promo, and I thought that was really good. The match itself, though, I thought was a little bit plodding and slow. It was just, it never really connected with me for some reason, and that's a shame, because Hangman is probably going to be the first ever AEW champion. I don't think that they'll end up giving it to Jericho. I guess that's an early prediction for All Out. But I thought it was a little bit slow and a little bit plodding. They really played up on the fact that Hangman's knee wasn't good. They pointed out the fact that it was not taped up this time, which was probably a bad idea. Page hit a standing shooting star at one point, and they were asking whether it was going to hold up. He hit a moonsault at one point, but hurt his leg. At one point, Sabian took a nasty spill to the outside and hit the ramp, which they played up as being bad. Sabian hit a springboard DDT at one point. They pointed out that his elbow was busted open and bleeding, and I just, for some reason, it never really connected with me. And I just felt like, I don't know. I'm not sure why. I'm really not sure why it didn't connect with me, because I don't think that the commentary had anything wrong. So maybe it is actually a pacing issue or a story issue. I just didn't find myself that invested, because I always knew Hangman was going to win, and then it never really got like fully started in terms of the pacing, and there was just never really anything that I thought was that impressive. Page hit a discus clothesline at one point. That was pretty cool, I guess. And he also hit a swinging neck breaker from the top rope. That was nice. Kip Sabian towards the end hit a top rope swan dive hurricanrana and tried to roll through for the pin. They traded pins, and Adam Page ended up getting the Deadeye for the win. And I gave it a 3 out of 6 because I just didn't feel like it lived up to what it should do. I feel like this is Page's last match before he faces Jericho, who is a legend of the wrestling business, and I just knocked my water bottle knocked it over because I'm swinging my arms around, gesticulating while I'm talking like I always do. Yeah, it's his last match before he faces Jericho at All Out, and I feel like he needed some really good momentum, and I just don't feel like they really gave it to him. Afterwards, Jericho came out and laid a beating on Hangman. I think he came out in a Dark Order mask, although I don't know whether the commentary put that. That was told to me by the indie correspondent Glenn, and started beating up on Page, left him bloody and bruised, and left. And I thought that bit was probably the best part of the match. Actually, added some stakes and some rivalry between Jericho and Page, but again, Sabian sort of came across as an afterthought, and hopefully he gets a little bit more of a push, because he's a very, very good mic worker. I really enjoyed the promo that he cut earlier in the night, and even though this was not a great match, it also wasn't a bad match. I didn't hate it, and it never lost me. It just never really connected, so I give it a 3 out of 6. And despite not having a lot of notes on this match, I actually quite enjoyed it. I think that might be why I don't have quite as many notes, because I was drawn in. But it also might not be, because this is where the pay-per-view got kind of annoying for me. So it's nothing to do with AEW, but let's just bring this up, right? So I wanted to watch this on Fight TV. So I go and look on the Fight TV website. It doesn't work with my accessibility features. Fine, okay, I'll try downloading the app. I download the app, it's full, absolutely full of unlabelled buttons. I can't find my way around all. It doesn't read out any of the names of anything. The only labelled button on the whole app is the search button. So if you know exactly what you want, you can search it, and at that point it'll read the names out. So I find Fight for the Fallen, and I go through all of the rigmarole of trying to pay for it, and I do. And then, as I'm watching this pay-per-view, it just stops. It just stops. Right in the middle of this SCU Lucha Bros match, it just stops. And it won't start playing again. I go off, I press resume, it doesn't play. I shut the app, come back on, press play again, it doesn't play. Restarting in 60 seconds, try that, wait for like a couple of minutes, and it just doesn't do it. And then eventually it finally comes back on, and it's restarted back at the beginning. But guess what? The app is so unfriendly with my accessibility features that it doesn't bring up the play functions, so I can't fast forward back through to where I was. So I had to go and watch it elsewhere. But the other place where I went and found and watched it put me like right back at the beginning of this match again, so I had to watch the match twice, which really I should have had quite a lot of notes for, but by that point I was really, really in a bad mood. But it managed to turn me back around towards the end. So yeah, after all of that stress of trying to watch it, I couldn't believe that I tried to watch it on something that's legit, and had more of a trouble with it than, you know, in the past where I've watched it in other places. SCU, I've quite enjoyed their work so far. They cut their promo on Jacksonville, but then they say that they've got a special place in their heart for Jacksonville. They're trying to suck up to the AEW management there, and past that it was a really fast-paced match, but there was some funny commentary in this that I can't help but make fun of. But let's talk about the stuff that happened that I liked, okay? So, Christopher Daniels kept trying to get involved. Eventually, the Lucha Brothers had some sort of miscue and dived out and hit Daniels. He tried to he tried to fight back, and Aubrey Edwards ended up ejecting him from the match. And I really enjoy the fact that I knew it was Aubrey Edwards. I like the fact that they say who the ref is at the beginning of each match. Feels like you build up some familiarity with them. You know which ones are going to be more lenient and which ones aren't. And I like the fact that they treat the refs with respect, because you know when they decide to go with a call, that's what they're going to stick with. The Luchas hit a rope-assisted DDT at one point. Once Christopher Daniels was ejected, Frankie Kazarian hit a body press on the Luchas towards the ramp. And other than that, I don't have a lot of notes, because I was just so drawn in by it. I don't feel like I kept up with it completely, but I did enjoy the stuff that I did catch. In the end, the Luchas hit a package pile driver for the win, and then they challenged the Young Bucks to a ladder match at All Out, which I will doubtless get completely lost in. Like, there's no way I'm keeping up with that. Like, a ladder match between those two teams, there is no way that I'm keeping up with that. But it was nice to see the Luchas pick up a win, get themselves in that win column, and I guess it was a decent match. I wish I had more to say on it, but I really didn't make that many notes because I was just too busy watching it. But yeah, I'm sure anyone who likes these two teams and likes tag team wrestling will like this match. And I gave it a 4 out of 6, which I feel a little bit unfair about because I haven't been able to say too much about it, but I feel like I did enjoy it, and I'm sticking with what I gave it at the time. So I gave it a 4 out of 6. Before I move on to Kenny versus Shima, I did want to talk about the commentary a little bit for that Luchas and SCU match. So let's just talk about a little bit about JR, who was really amusing during this match, because there's two occasions that I can think of that made me laugh, and I thought I'd bring it up because there was a couple more things in the next match. But this SCU Luchas match, at one point he's like, lots of strikes, people getting dumped on the head, big moves, whoever hits the best one will be the winner. I'm like, yeah, JR, that's wrestling. And he did the exact same thing again later on, just like, lots of strikes and people getting dumped on the head, and I was like, yeah, that's what wrestling is. Strikes and people headbutting the floor. That is what wrestling is. But that was just a quick note on that one. Kenny versus Shima in what I thought was probably one of the best matches of the night, to the shock of indie correspondent Glenn, who couldn't believe the rating that I ended up giving this. But I really liked it. Shima came in looking strong after picking up his win against Christopher Daniels last time, and it just really was at this point where you're like, I don't know who will end up winning this. And even though I thought that it would be Omega, there was still a few times where I was like, this might end up being Shima. Shima rolled through a sunset flip at some point and started delivering stomps. He looked for a vertical suplex at one point, and Omega spread his body weight out so that he couldn't get it. He hit multiple Meteoras throughout the match, but at one point he went for a Meteora and missed, and Kenny Omega started working the knee after that. There was a near fall at some point. I can't remember what the move was, but Shima put Kenny down, went for a near fall. Kenny kicked out only to be caught in a submission by Shima, who was expecting him to kick out but just wanted to make him expend the energy anyway. We got a few right over the table. Kenny bent in half over that table. But for the most part, it really didn't get to that point, and I was happy because I thought that I was going to get lost in this. They really played up on the fact that both of these men really made a name for themselves in Japan, and the fact that they'd never crossed paths before. We got a bicycle knee to the face. We got a Meteora that was countered into a V-trigger at some point, I think, and there was just lots of stuff, and I didn't quite realise that the Meteora wasn't Shima's finisher. So when he was hitting it loads, I was like, whoa, what the hell? Why is he hitting his finisher like this much? And then at one point they're like, Meteora to the back of the head, and I was like, okay, I'm Kenny Omega and I can kick out of a Meteora to the back of the head. And indie correspondent Glenn's like, yeah, that's because the Meteora is a transitional move. And I'm like, is that not his finisher? I swear that's how he beat Christopher Daniels last time, but I'm probably wrong about that one in all honesty. I thought that this was really great. Just counter for counter, move for move, both of them knowing each other really well. And I managed to get down quite a lot of notes for this one, so if you're interested in seeing the full notes, make sure you take a look down in the description. I was really surprised because the last few Kenny matches, I feel like I've got a lot more lost than this, and I actually managed to follow this quite a lot. I really like that once Shima had missed that Meteora, Kenny was just working his knees and looking for that one-winged angel throughout the match, that they were really putting over that it was over if he hit that, which it was. In the end, he hit that one-winged angel, and Kenny picked up the win. I really like that they were playing up the fact that Kenny was winless so far. Pardon me, sorry about that, just absolutely forced its way out. Yeah, they were talking about the fact that Kenny was winless and how important this was. And I was like, okay, you're acting like you've been around for like 4 years and you've only had 2 pay-per-views. It's not that bad if he hasn't got a win yet. But Glenn, again, ever the voice of reason when it comes to AEW, pointed out the fact that, you know, there's some people that have got 2 or 3 wins under the belt at this point, and Kenny has none, and he's a member of the elite, so people expect more of him. And I just thought it was really, really cool. I sort of thought that they might make Shima win because of how much they were playing up on that, and I thought they might send Omega into his fight with Moxley winless, but he did end up picking that win up, and I gave this match a 5 out of 6, which Glenn absolutely couldn't believe because he was expecting a lower rating than that because of how lost I've got in the past. But yeah, really, really enjoyed this match. Other than the women's tag match and the main event, thought this was probably the best match of the night, which, like I said, really surprised about. So I'm looking forward to seeing Omega versus Moxley, and I'm also looking forward to see where Shima goes from here, because he looks really, really strong and like a really lethal competitor after the run that they've given him. And even though Omega beat him, I don't think it hurts him at all. Given another 5 minutes and some extra crazy spots, I think this probably could have gone to a 6. It really got me invested in Kenny, which I think is a good thing, because I was in danger of being a little bit alienated by his matches. So I'm happy about that. Yeah, Omega versus Shima, 5 out of 6. Chris Jericho's Live Mic segment was next, and this was good. It was a decent promo, but it wasn't anything that I don't feel like I've seen before. He came out, he ran down the crowd calling them Jerksonville and Jackoffville, and encouraged them to boo him, told them that he wanted his thank you, and then told them to shut up when they started thanking him because he didn't want it from them. He said he's going to get his thank you one person at a time as he puts down everyone on the AEW roster. He says he started AEW, and everything that's happened since Double or Nothing, TNT, the TNT TV deal, and everything else is because of Jericho. None of them would be there if it wasn't for him. They'd be out looking for change. He's been looking at the blood of Adam Page on his hand, and he realised that he has to beat Hangman because it's the beginning of the end for not only Jericho's career but AEW if Page beats him at All Out. And he repeats, I have to beat the Hangman, I have to beat the Hangman. And then Adam Page comes out and they have a pull apart brawl. A nice way to set up the build to their match. Looking forward to the promos that will end up cutting on Road to All Out. But I didn't think that it was a groundbreaking promo segment. I didn't think Jericho said anything that clever or that funny. It was just sort of standard Chris Jericho type stuff. But you know, Chris Jericho is one of my favourites, so that's still a good thing. I'm just saying, didn't feel like it was anything, you know, majorly different to things that I've seen before. The Brotherhood, Cody and Dustin Rhodes versus the Young Bucks. I was nervous and excited for this match because I thought there was going to be parts that I couldn't quite keep up with and parts that I could keep up with, because I felt that the match would probably be slower because you've got Cody and Dustin in there who work slower matches than the Young Bucks. And it was actually a really, really good match. Again, Glenn couldn't believe when I ended up giving this a high rating, and I just really felt drawn in. I was nervous and sort of dreading it because they said earlier on in the night that it was going to have a 60-minute time limit, and I was like, oh no, I could see this going like the whole 60 minutes, go the time limit draw sort of route. But for what was essentially an almost 40-minute match, I actually thought that this zipped by, and there was some really, really nice stuff. It started off friendly with the handshake, but a few minutes later, Nick tried again, and there was no handshake. There was a nice spot at one point where Dustin got a back body drop, and then Cody wasn't on the apron for the tag because he'd been wiped out by the other Young Buck. Matt Jackson in particular was not taking the Rhodes brothers seriously. He spat on Cody at one point in the corner, and as the match slowly progressed, the animosity between the two teams slowly picked up to a more intense point, and I really, really like that. Cody hit Matt with his weight belt at some point, just like he did with Darby Allin. There was so many spots in this match. At one point, Matt whipped Cody towards the corner, who hopped over the post, and as Matt went for attack Cody, he hit his shoulder on the ring post, which they pointed out. It was a square post, and the corner of which went right into his shoulder. This led to him having basically a bum arm for the rest of the match, and the Rhodes brothers were working it. Dustin hit a roundhouse kick to the arm at some point. He trapped the wrist and was delivering headbutts at one point. And this played into other spots like the Young Bucks getting stereo sharpshooters, which Matt couldn't lock in properly because of his injured arm and Dustin's height. The Rhodes brothers got stereo figure fours. There was a point where Cody got hit with the crossroads. There was a part where Dustin was taking the boots to Matt, and he rolled so his ribs were in the way of the kicks because he didn't want to get kicked in the shoulder or the arm, so he put his ribs in harm's way. Dustin was hitting him with rights at some point that he couldn't block because of his arm, so he was getting hit in the face and the chest. And throughout the match, the Bucks were slowly making fun of the Rhodes more and more, throwing out the older brother thing a couple of times. Like I said, there was they spat on each other. They hit each other's moves. There was all sorts to this match that was just really, really good. The the Bucks hit the double drop down uppercut thing that the Rhodes do. There was a 4-way lariat that led to everyone being down for the count at some point. The Rhodes hit the stereo super kicks, and then at the end of the match, they got the Meltzer driver for the win. The Young Bucks did. They got the Meltzer driver because that's their move, but that doesn't matter because Cody and Dustin could easily have been doing it to them. But I really, really enjoyed this match, and I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did, because I really haven't enjoyed the Young Bucks matches that they've had with the Lucha Brothers, but I thought there was a really good story here with Dustin sort of carrying on his journey to being recognised as a legit in-ring competitor again, not just being looked at as an old Attitude Era guy, and proving to the Young Bucks that him and Cody could get the job done. They both hit stereo power slams at some point. That was pretty cool too. Yeah, and it just worked really, really well for me. Cody was slowly getting more and more pissed off at the Bucks throughout the match for not taking them seriously, for making fun of Dustin, for making fun of their brotherhood, and it just all worked really, really well, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it's a shame because this has got me invested in the Young Bucks and the storytelling that they can do. I was starting to think that people might be right, that there's no storytelling and it's all just in-ring flippity-doo stuff that they do, and that I was never going to be able to invest in them. But this has proved to me that they can tell a decent story. Not even just a decent story, a really, really good, captivating story. But it's a shame because they're going to end up taking on the Lucha Brothers in in a bloody ladder match, which I'm just not going to be able to keep up with at all, and I know that I'm not going to be able to. If I come to you after All Out and I'm like, that was a 6 out of 6 match, I was really into it, I knew everything that was going on, then I'll be really surprised, but I don't think I will. There wasn't one quip in my notes, I don't think, about the commentary in this one, and I'll definitely say this is a 5 out of 6 match that really, probably with a few more spots, could easily have gone up into a 6 again, and it was much, much better than the main event for Extreme Rules. Even though I enjoyed the Lacey Evans Baron Corbin mixed gender tag match against Seth and Becky, I didn't feel like it had as much weight as this. This was the story of two sets of brothers going to war, and not only two sets of brothers, but people with interplaying relationships, friendships, and just there was so many different layers to this that I just don't think you can even really solidly compare it, other than the fact that it was the main event. And you didn't get Brock Lesnar coming out at the end of this one to ruin everything for me. Imagine that. Jesus Christ, if they ever brought Brock into AEW, that's just but yeah, I'm at the end of things to say about this match. I thought it was really, really good. If you ever listen to me, then this is one of those must-see matches. You've got to go and watch it. And yeah, so that's all I've got to say on the Rhodes versus the Young Bucks. It was a 5 out of 6 match, and it was so close to being my first 6 out of 6 for AEW. I got through it. I finally did it. I got to the end. I've just recorded this and the Extreme Rules review back to back, and at the minute I'm feeling like my legs are absolutely killing me. I'm so hot, I'm really thirsty, and I'm just really, really glad that I'm done. I probably enjoyed this pay-per-view a little bit more than Extreme Rules. There was definitely some matches on Extreme Rules that I enjoyed a lot, but it was a lot more mixed with the ratings, and they got a lot lower. This really never dipped below a 4, other than the Hangman Kip Sabian match, and the commentary for the most part was a lot better. There was nothing that really annoyed me or infuriated me. Even the things that I do point out about the commentary, the more quips and jokes, just stuff that I find funny more than being like, oh, just do your job. Like, this time I felt like Jim Ross didn't annoy me quite as much. I mean, there was a few times where it was like, say at the beginning of the Brandi Rhodes match, he's so distracted by Awesome Kong that he's like, has the match started yet? And I was like, well, Ali might not have been distracted, but you were. And the stuff with lots of strikes and big moves, whoever wins, whoever gets the best one's going to win, and lots of strikes and people being dumped on the head, and it's just like, that's what wrestling is. But other than that, it was, like I say, it was Excalibur and Alex are slowly becoming two of my favourite commentators that I've ever seen, really. I think the only way that you could make it better for me is adding Nigel McGuinness into the mix, and hopefully, one day after Nigel's done with WWE, when his contract comes up, if he chose to come over to AEW, my God, would Alex, Excalibur and Nigel be a really good team. But I'm getting used to this team of Jim Ross, Excalibur and Alex, and I thought that they did a really, really cracking job, definitely a better job than the WWE commentary, and anyone who listens, I think, knows that I try to be as unbiased as I can, I try to be as fair as I can, and if it had been different, and if WWE had put out the Extreme Rules pay-per-view and it had been 5 out of 6 matches and 4 out of 6 matches and 6 out of 6, and this had been worse, I'd have come in and I'd have been like, sorry AEW fans, but this wasn't as good. And the only thing that I really didn't like is that it was just that bit longer. I feel like AEW promised that they were going to have shorter pay-per-views, and as much as I understand that they haven't got weekly TV yet and they've got to try and fit in as much as they can, it just seems ridiculous to have to sit there for 4 hours when you're trying to offer a when you're trying to offer an alternative to WWE, because today, watching Extreme Rules, it felt crazy that it was shorter than Fight for the Fallen. So in the end, I think that Extreme Rules came in at a sort of around a 3 pay-per-view, and this one probably came in a strong 4, maybe even a 5 pay-per-view, but I think it definitely could have been a 5 if Hangman and Kip Sabian hadn't got a 3, but I'll call it a 4. So Extreme Rules was a 3 out of 6, this is a 4 out of 6, a really, really strong one, but nonetheless a 4 out of 6. If you haven't watched my Extreme Rules review and you want to find out what I thought of that entire pay-per-view, go check out the video. And if you want to stay up to date with WITD and my future videos, hit that subscribe button, hit the notify bell, come be friends and don't leave yourself out of the cold. Right guys, I'm off and you should have a good one.